Speaking of being up early here in the Napa Auto Parts Studios, that's Mr. Gaffigan on the phone right now. I believe we have Jim Gaffigan joining us right now. Jim, can you hear me?
I can hear you. I always get up early. I get up. I do my hot yoga. I meditate for 30 minutes. Then I do my Pilates. I do some stretching. I do my Jane Fonda workout.
Oh.
And then I do my Richard Simmons workout. And then I have half a bowl of grain. Just grain.
Just grain.
Dry grain.
Raw grain.
Yeah.
And then I just start my day, my 20-hour day, where I just do so many things. I never waste time on the internet. I'm just constantly productive, caught in between prayer and meditation when I'm not raising money for poor people. I'm just always doing good.
That's the voice of the great Jim Gaffigan. By the way, Jim, parenthetically to our discussion, I'm enjoying your segments on the CBS Sunday Morning Show.
Oh,
those were very.
Thank you.
Those were very.
It's fun to do those, and it's fun to see how much anger my edgy comedy can drum up in people on the internet.
Really?
I literally talk about like the Tooth Fairy and horses and beer, and there's just anger spewed at me. And I want to like tell people, like, if you're upset by me, you shouldn't check out the politics that we deal with today in our country.
or anything else. I think people get up in the morning and all they want to do is find out what they can be really outraged about. Then they forget about it a couple of weeks later.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm sure that some of my comedy has some bite, but some of the reason why people come to my shows is that there's no target. You know what I mean? The target is myself usually. So it's like I'm always surprised when people, think that I'm like unfairly picking on beer people or horse people.
Now, Jim, I think I may have a new angle for you. I know you've covered every aspect of food and of children, but my kids, my little ones, discovered something called the half birthday. So unbeknownst to me, the other day was my half birthday. So why is this significant? Because my 5-year-old presented me with a delicious cake, which of course they all dove into. But I don't even like celebrating my birthday. But now I've got it twice a year. But I do get the cake, so it ties right into your thoughts, I'm sure.
Yes, the thing my and I don't really have material on this, so like let's not have expectations. But
no, Jim, we're just talking. We're just talking.
Having a conversation. Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
First of all, I think that the whole notion of a surprise birthday party for an adult is absurd. Okay, it's like you're not surprising an adult; you're deceiving an adult.
Yeah.
It's like first of all, they don't want to be they don't want to be reminded of how old and irrelevant they are. And so it's like the whole surprise. But recently I was invited to, I'm not making this up, a surprise birthday party for a dog. It was a dog.
Wow.
And you know what? That dog was surprised. It didn't know it was its birthday.
Yeah.
It didn't even really know it was a dog.
Yeah.
And it was the dog's 3rd birthday. Dog years means it doesn't matter. And I love dogs, and I realize, it's kind of ironic that I'm bringing this up, but I realize there are people that are angry that I'm presenting dogs as not equal to humans, but the reality is they're not.
Right. Because they're dogs.
And I love dogs. Dogs are better than humans.
Dear CBS.
Way better.
That Gaffigan guy. Oh, that's funny. Jim, I want to remind people that you're on tour Indianapolis tonight and tomorrow. 2 shows tomorrow evening, and then the Palace Theater next weekend in Columbus, Ohio. Then things get international. Istanbul, Turkey, Cologne, Germany, Berlin, Germany, Athens, Greece. Then back in November 30th, it's Vegas. Then Salt Lake City, Phoenix, and then on December 28th, Johannesburg, South Africa, then Cape Town.
What's the word?
Johannesburg. Wow. Do you modify your presentation at all when you're doing an international show? Do you have to learn to say hello in Urdu or something?
I kind of do a crash course on the culture and the customs and try and come up with material, and then I just bomb the rest of the time.
And are you careful with the word bomb while you're there?
Yeah.
To be honest, come on.
Usually there's a fair amount of expats. So, but some of it is, America's been exporting entertainment for so long. It's not that shocking. It's even, it's usually easier to do, say Scandinavia or places where they speak English, from an early age. It's not that bad because they watch American shows. So, but there are some cultural differences, but I must find that kind of fun to deal with.
Yeah. Now, we had a news story the other day that a university in I believe it was Scotland or England is no longer going to allow clapping at any public events. You have to do what more or less the equivalent of jazz hands because the clapping.
Well, that's.
Yeah, is that so? I'm not suggesting that you're.
Jim's audiences have been doing that for years.
Hey, this is coming out wrong.
I also get the standing moving ovation.
Oh, yeah.
Standing ovation. That's
It's
right.
called the wave.
It's amazing.
It's called them waving, yeah.
Yes, I'm sorry. That really came out wrong. What I was going to say is there a different, for example, in Germany, a country not known for, having lots of laughs. Do the audiences have a different way of responding, or is it all expats? What?
No, it is. I mean, and I love the cultural differences, and I'm looking forward to Turkey and figuring out what's going to work and the cultural nuance, and they're going to laugh at certain things that. In a different way. Every culture kind of embraces different topics. Like I'm a very Americana kind of guy, and I'm not just saying that because I'm overweight, but like so there is kind of like a different reaction. But some of it is I love doing international shows. I love other cultures, so it ends up kind of working out. I mean, the show is. It's kind of an experiment. It's like I also kind of justify it. Not that I'm comparing myself to like some author, but like it's good to go to other countries because that gives you insight to America. So like that's why like all these writers went to Paris so that they would kind of like then they could have like a perspective on how insane our country is.
Yeah. Well, you're going to be going from Athens, Greece to Las Vegas, Nevada. I'm guessing that'll work.
Right, and the Coliseum. I'm going from the Coliseum to the Coliseum, which is great.
The real one,
cool.
the real one to the fake one. We're speaking with comedian Jim Gaffigan, by the way. Jim, we were talking the other day about a comedian that way back when you may or may not have remembered named Vic Dunlop, who famously sold these crazy eyeballs at the end of his show. And we were talking about how comedians have merch. Early on in your career, were you, as a struggling young comic trying to make enough money to buy gas on the road, were you selling T-shirts or tapes or anything?
I was definitely I mostly just stuck to CDs, and there was nothing more humiliating than
This is what I was going for.
the different looks of people just looking at you like, no. They're leaving a room. What's so great about a comedy show is it's dark and people's inhibitions can come out. And so, like, people are kind of like, they went through an hour and a half of just kind of like responding emotionally, honestly. And so then when you're out there selling your CDs, they would look at you like, no. Like they would be like, or if someone was, like one person would like it and the other person wouldn't like it. The weird thing is, like, I used to meet everyone in the audience, and then I used to have a meet and greet after every show that, like, some third party kind of set up. And the weird thing is like, some of the interactions after the show, 90% of them are great. But all it takes is like one person to like sit there and go, she made me come. I didn't want to come. Why are you?
Right.
You don't have to defend your presence. I had to be here too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just It's just strange.
A friend of mine actually had the opportunity to be backstage to see the great band Cream. This was in the late 60s when they were just breaking, and they're one of the greatest bands in the history of rock and roll. And his buddy walked up to Eric Clapton and after the show and went, "Hey, man, decent." Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Some of it is. I don't think that it's necessarily hostility. I think that sometimes people don't know what to say,
Yeah.
or they try and sometimes there's a lot of kids that come to my shows, and they try and be funny, and sometimes like when you're navigating sarcasm when you're 14. Sometimes it can misfire. You know what I mean? So it's like what they're trying to be funny, but really what they're saying is like, you're fatter than I remember. You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm tearing up. Jim Gaffigan is our guest once again. Jim in the United States for a while here. Indianapolis tonight and tomorrow. Columbus, Ohio, November 2nd and 3rd. Then it's Istanbul, Cologne, Berlin, Athens, then Las Vegas, Salt Lake. Lots of shows. By the way, you've got some dates announced for next year. I don't know how in touch you are with your own schedule, but Minneapolis, March 8th, April 26th, Colorado Springs, Boise, Idaho, Saturday, April 27th. That's right after my birthday. And then
that's why I'm doing it. I'm dedicated.
Are we supposed to send you to Boise to see Jim
I'm
Gaffigan?
just warning my 5-year-old if she's up that I want another cake. Spokane on Sunday, April 28th, and then Sioux Falls
And
Saturday, June 8th. We're on the radio in all those places. So go see Jim Gaffigan. He's the best.
Well, thanks so much. I appreciate it. Yeah, no, it's great that they, it's like figuring it out. They're like, they have me scheduled, so far out, but some of it is like, it's a relief. I mean, I really do love doing these shows and stuff like that. So it is, and it's fun to go to different places. So I mean, I've been to Spokane, I've been to Sioux Falls before, but it's fun to go to these places. Even like going out to dinner after the show is a blast.
I think it's great that you take your family with you most of the time, too. That's so cool.
I do. I mean, and it's, obviously when they have school, they can't go. And when I travel without my children, in between those moments of guilt are just hours of happiness.
I can imagine.
Now, is the Gaffigan household currently having Halloween issues? Are there costumes being made or debated?
Oh, there's, we're in the thick of it. I'm sure you guys can identify with this. Anyone who has a kid, it's like, it's not one day, it's the whole month. And there's different parties. I went to a party. We all went to a party last Saturday night. Like, there are different parties, and there's different outfits, right? There's different costumes. Like, I can't believe that, like when I was growing up, my mom would just cut 2 holes in a sheet and we'd be a ghost.
Yep.
Or there was literally a couple of years where I went as a bum. Like, I know that sounds kind of like politically incorrect, but it was like completely socially acceptable to be like this homeless person. But now my kids, they have, and my wife, so she kind of gets into it, and it's fun that my 12-year-old son wants to be a Monty Python knight, and
cool.
And then there's all these Deadpool characters and stuff like that, so it's fun.
Okay, Jim Gaffigan, I know you got to go here. We'll look forward to seeing you in person very, very soon, and on the road if you get a chance to. Jim, lastly, any movie, TV stuff happening for you right now?
Like I have some movies that hopefully will get in Sundance, but it's like the movie business is so kind of confusing. I'm grateful for the opportunity to do it, but like I don't know when they're coming out or if they're coming out. So it's kind of it's so fun doing them, and I'm just relying on enjoying that. Because otherwise it's like, who knows?
You Jim did a real nice job in a movie called Chappaquiddick.
Yeah, terrific work.
About the very serious story about the Ted Kennedy Chappaquiddick situation many, many years ago.
And he was also in Chuck with Liev Schreiber and about Chuck Wepner.
Yeah.
Great.
Now,
Thanks.
we'll let you go. So I know that my favorite book about Elvis, there's a scene where he's recording and he looks up at the guy and they're in the middle of a break and he looks up at the guy and he goes, I guess I got to go back to being Elvis again. Do you ever get tired of being, just want to hang up the phone and go, I think I'll just look out the window?
Just be Elvis. Back to Elvis.
You can just go
Thanks
back,
so much,
back,
you guys.
back to being Elvis. We'll see you, Jim.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
care.
Jim Gaffigan
Jim.
on the road again.